everybody, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. It's the day after Christmas, and I thought I would show you the books that I got for Christmas and some of the other bookish items. What basically happens every Christmas is I set up a wish list, give it to my husband and or family, and they just pick assorted books. And so I don't really ever know which ones I'm going to get, although I do know which ones I have on the list, and I have enough so that they can pick and choose. They don't buy the whole list by any means, but oh gosh, if they did, right? So in the very beginning of the video, I showed you my purple sweatshirt with The Book Was Better on it. It's a purple hoodie, so that's going to be really fun to wear. It's nice and heavy. And I also did buy a few books for myself, which I normally do. I upgraded my Kindle, and I got this really cool owl Kindle cover. This is the latest Kindle Paperwhite, and the Paperwhite, in my opinion, if you're a Kindle reader, is the best out of the Kindle products to read, because it's only made for reading. It's not made for internet access, although it does have wireless, and the battery lasts forever. The one thing I hate, and my husband and I discovered this, is I always have my electronics in a case. And every single Kindle variety that they come out with every couple of years or every year is a slightly different size. So the cases never fit, and they become obsolete very quickly. And it's just yet another way for Amazon to make a bunch of money. Another few books that I bought myself. This one is Palace of the Drowned by Christine Mangan. She wrote the novel Tangerine, which I really enjoyed, and this was her next novel after Tangerine. This is set in 1966, and it's years have passed since Frankie Croy's debut novel. She spent her literary career trying to live up to expectations of her fans and her editor, and she fell short with every new book that was published. She goes to a friend's retreat in Venice and meets a precocious young eager admirer, Jilly. So, and this admirer wants to insinuate herself into this author's life. And it's interesting because just from reading a little bit on the blurb, I don't like to read too much, but it kind of sounds like a similar situation between two friends from Tangerine, where there's maybe an obsessive element to it and a stalking kind of a thing. I don't know, maybe. We'll see about that one. The next one is Recollections of My Non-Existence by Rebecca Solnit. She is a feminist essayist who I love. I've read several of her collections so far. This one is an electric portrait of the artist as a young woman that asks how a writer finds her voice in a society that prefers women to be silent. She's talking about her formation as a young writer and a feminist in San Francisco in the 1980s. She talks about being poor and working towards a hopeful feminism. And she kind of talks about how she transforms herself and her life. So I really love Solnit's voice and her writing, and found this one and bought it for myself. And then this is one of my new favorite authors. This one is Blonde Roots by Bernardine Evaristo. And this is Doris living in a sleepy English cottage. She is kidnapped and put aboard a slave ship bound for the New World. On a strange tropical island, Doris is told she is an ugly, stupid savage. Her only purpose in life is to please her mistress. That's all I want to read on the back, but it's Bernardine Evaristo, and I love her writing. I love her creativity, and really looking forward to reading that one. I actually wanted to also get my hands on Mr. Loverman, but I haven't done that yet. But she's got so many books that I'm dying to read after reading Girl, Woman, Other. So this next pile are the books that I received as Christmas gifts under the tree. This one is, I have two theology books. This one is Jesus and the Disinherited by Howard Thurman. This was published, very slim little book. This was published in 1949, and it's a brilliant and compassionate look at God's work in our lives. It's as we struggle today with issues of poverty, racism, and spiritual disengagement, Howard Thurman's discerning reading of the message of renewal through self-love as exemplified in the life of Jesus resonates powerfully once again. This hit me because of themes of poverty, racism, and spiritual disengagement, and it published in the 40s, but yet it still applies today. So I was really looking forward to this one. And one of the descriptions and reviews on the back talks about, let's see, his goal was to offer this humanizing combination as the basis for an emancipatory way of being, moving toward a fundamentally unchained life that is available to all the women and men everywhere who hunger and thirst for righteousness, especially those, quote, who stand with their backs against the wall. So I think that's going to be a really interesting read. And this one is even older. This one was first published in 1917. This is A Theology for the Social Gospel by Walter Rauschenbusch. And the Social Gospel is similar, if anybody is familiar with the Salvation Army, not as a charitable organization, but as a religious organization. It's the type of work that the Salvation Army does in our social culture. It ministers to people's needs as for housing, clothing, food, addiction recovery, that type of thing. And any of us who call ourselves Christians, and this was founded in the Protestant denomination, we owe it to humans, to other humans, to help them in social and physical context, not just in preaching and sharing our religion, sharing our faith with people, but also helping them with their actual hard needs in life and trying to uplift people out of the devastation that they live with. So that's I wanted to read so much into this part of theology of the social gospel. So those are the two theological books that I received. This one is a classic, and I haven't read. I've been collecting his books. This is The Woodlanders by Thomas Hardy in the Penguin edition. And this one is about country girl Grace Melbury. And she returns home from her middle-class school, and she's kind of betrothed to a young country suitor. He's a woodsman, Giles Winterbourne. But she kind of, with her newfound education, she feels that she's grown out of that relationship, and she starts to become captivated to Dr. Adrid Fitzpiers, a sophisticated newcomer to the area. And this is kind of the repercussions of a broken engagement, a broken promise, and poor Giles Winterbourne. It's Hardy's portrayal of him shows a man who responds deeply to the forces of the natural world, which ultimately betray him. So it's about betrayal, disillusionment, and moral compromise in a secluded country community. Thomas Hardy. This one I've seen on so many different channels, and some of these books are quite depressing. That one's kind of a depressing book. This one is super depressing as far as I remember. The Deeper the Water, the Uglier the Fish by Katya Apakina. And I saw this on several channels, and I think Shawn the Book Maniac read this one, and I forget who else did, but I saw it a couple of places. This is a super depressing book with themes of mental illness and attempted suicide. And it's two sisters, 16-year-old Edie and 14-year-old May. It is Edie, the 16-year-old, who finds her mother Marianne dangling from their living room light fixture and is barely alive, but she is alive. So she is rescued from an attempted suicide and sent into a psychiatric hospital. And the two teenagers have to go live with their distant father, who is a former civil rights activist and literary figure on the other side of success. So they're trying to understand their mother's illness. They're trying to understand the past of their parents and how their mother got to this point in her life. And very depressing, but a very important topic. I can't use the word enjoy, but I really appreciate reading novels with themes of mental illness and family illness and family dysfunction. Without TMI, there is so much of that in my own family of origin that I really appreciate reading novels with those settings. Changing courses, this one is a copy of Tolkien's The Silmarillion, because this year, one of my personal vows is I want to read all of the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion. I read this many, many years ago, as I read all of the other of those books many years ago, and I want to go back and read who I believe is the master of fantasy, so I wanted to read the Silmarillion. This is basically a fantastical story of the creation of the world and the First Age. So it's kind of like a prequel to the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Here's another one with themes of mental illness, and this is again another book that I've seen on so many different channels. This one had glowing reviews. This is Starling Days by Rowan Haseo Buchanan, and I really love the bird on that cover. This one is Mina, who is staring over the edge of the George Washington Bridge when a patrol car pulls up, and she tries to convince them, no, I was not going to jump, but her husband needs to be called to come and pick her up. So she is a classicist who is studying mythological women and looking into their lives as solutions and how to manage her own mental health. And she finally finds a beam of light in Phoebe, a real-life woman, and Oscar and Mina's complicated love is tested. I've read that this is such a gorgeously written novel, and that's one of my all-time qualifications of a good book is excellent and gorgeous writing, so I'm really looking forward to this one. This one is nonfiction. This is Girls Growing Up on the Autism Spectrum, and what parents and professionals should know about the preteen and teenage years. This is Shanna Nichols with Gina Marie Moravec. I'm hoping that's a little bit of a complicated pronunciation. And Samara Pulvar Tettenbaum. My daughter Clara has high-functioning autism. I've said that before. And this is just one of those guidebooks that I thought would be really interesting. What parents and professionals should know about the preteen and teenage years, and she's now 14. She's just an awesome person. I'm not going to say awesome kid because she's an awesome person. So creative and articulate and intelligent, and I just want to have as much information in my arsenal to give her all the support and encouragement that she deserves. And she's just awesome. This one is a debut novel that I really have not seen anywhere. And I found it as a recommendation, I don't know where. This was published in 2014, I believe. Yes, 2014. This is The Dead Wife's Handbook by Hannah Beckerman. And I think I found this through an online recommendation. Rachel Max and their daughter Ellie have the perfect life until the night Rachel's heart stopped and she was only 36. So her family can't forget her, and she can't really quite let go of them either. She's kind of stuck in a middle place where she has died, but she can't let go. And she's watching their lives and she's watching them move on with their lives without her. And she finally, I think it starts to evolve to a point where they're starting to let go of her little by little, and she has to get to the point where she understands it and she goes through her own journey. And I thought that sounded really interesting. One last one. This one I saw on Scott Nell's Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. This is No Friend But the Mountains by Behrouz Boochani, or Boochani. He is a Kurdish-Iranian journalist. In 2013, he was illegally detained on Manus Island, a refugee detention center off the coast of Australia, and he remained there for 6 years. And this book is the result of writing from a cell phone, and he had to write in secret. He would have endured either further punishment or a possible death sentence, but he had to get his writing out secretly in scraps and bits and pieces. He typed it out on his cell phone. I'm not sure how that worked. On a mobile phone, and translated from the Farsi. This is translated by Omid Tofighian, forward by Richard Flanagan. And this sounded so fascinating. I think Nelle was describing this, and I thought I need to get my hands on that. And so I put it on my wish list forever. And fortunately, this is one of the books that my husband picked to gift me for Christmas. So that's my pile of books on my Christmas haul. And I'm just thrilled with the books that I received. I also did get a ring light, so I'm trying to figure out how I set that up, and I'm figuring out the best way to use that. So hopefully my lighting will be better. It's kind of a cheapo one, but I didn't want to invest too much money into equipment to do my booktube videos without knowing first how they're going to work, how it's going to benefit me. And after all, I am keeping this booktube channel as a hobby, which I dearly love, but I'm not quite prepared to invest a bunch of money in. I'm investing more money in the books, and I'm sure you all know what I mean. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think of them, and leave me a comment down below. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate it if you went ahead and did that. If you really don't want to, that's okay too. But I thought I'd put the ask out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.